A lot of us, including myself, thought Jerami Grant would be traded at the trade deadline because he just wasn't part of the Pistons' future, wasn't playing that well, didn't feel like he was going to fit a part of this Pistons core. However, over the last 9 games, Jeremy's actually been pretty damn good. Should this make Pistons front office and Pistons fans feel like possibly keeping him moving forward instead of trading him in the offseason? We'll talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Danny Johnson with 1 second to go. His shot is good.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We're trying to show Locked On that we are the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Best way to support the podcast. I'd really appreciate it. And we got a few things to talk about today. We'll talk about Cade Cunningham, and if he is indeed the guy, what would be the ideal archetype for the second best player or his second banana on the team? We'll talk about that and a few other things. But first, I want to talk about Jerami Grant. You guys know that I've been listening to the podcast for a while, for at least this season. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys know this as well. But I'm not the biggest Jerami Grant fan. I'm just not a big fan of his. I'm not as high on him as a lot of other people seem to be. And when it was trade deadline time, when it was getting closer and closer and closer, you guys know on the podcast I've been sitting here saying that I wanted Jerami Grant traded. I believe I even had like a little funny note I wrote. It was like, "Oh, Jerami Grant's a great person. He's a big anime fan. Love the thing you did for the homeless shelter, but I'm done watching you play basketball." Like I had that whole little funny stick too. So I just never I was in the camp of just get Jerami off the team. You need to just move him. I didn't think he fit with this team. I didn't think his play style fit with the team. I didn't think the way he wanted to play fit with the team. And I didn't think he was actually playing that well anyways. I didn't think he was as good as people thought. And that's been the case for the majority of this season and kind of the second half of last season as well. However, over the last 9 games, he's actually been pretty decent. And honestly, pretty decent is probably underselling. He's been pretty damn good. And before we even get into the stats about what it looks like, his shooting percentage, how much he's averaging, all that kind of stuff, something I want to give him credit for over the last 9 games that I've seen is that it seems like he's taken somewhat of a back step to Cade Cunningham. He's forfeited that role to Cade. Let Cade take over as the guy. There's no more seems to be like this hidden tension on the floor between these guys that it felt like at the beginning of the season. Not that these guys, it was ever like these guys don't like each other, they don't want to play with each other or something like that. But it felt like, one guy wanted to be the guy, the other wanted to be the guy, and there was kind of a little bit of like pulling on, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys know what I'm saying. They both were vying for being like that number one guy for the Pistons. And that hasn't been the case over the last 9 games. So I want to applaud Jerami for that because he has taken a little bit of a back roll. He's taken a step back, and he's allowed Cade to flourish and be that one guy, that 1A guy. And Jerami has done that better than I thought he would. I didn't think that would happen. So that's the main thing I want to give him credit for. Now, on the season, Jerami is averaging 19 points a game, shooting 41% from the floor, 33% from deep, 83% for the free throw line. Not very good splits, not very high efficiency. And you guys know that I've said on the podcast for the majority of the season, there was a game like last week, I figured what it was, a week and a half ago. I said that was the best best defense he's played all season. For the majority of the season, I feel like he's taken a step back defensively from where he's usually been throughout his career and last season with the Pistons. However, over the last 19 games, he stepped all of that up. Right? Over the last 9 games since February 27th, he's averaging 20.4 points a game, 3.9 rebounds, 2.2 assists. He's shooting 47% from the field, 38% from deep on 6 attempts a game, 79% from the free throw line. So much more efficient, actually averaging more points. And again, taking that backseat of a role. He's also only taking 14.9 shot attempts a game. So he's not really, that's 0.1 attempt down from the entire season. So he was shooting more before this stretch. So I just wanted to take time to give Jerami some credit. He's taking a back seat. He's letting guys create for him a little bit more. He's letting Cade create for him a little bit more. and he's allowing guys to play their game a little bit more than he was beforehand. Now, listen, I'd be remiss to sit here and act like that he still doesn't have the occasional, like we talked about on yesterday's podcast, the occasional play where he just goes back into that iso ball mode and it hurts the team's offense. However, a lot of people have been saying, "Koo, you need to give him some credit." You talk a lot bad about him. You talk about what you don't like about him. You got to give him some credit when he deserves it, and that's fair. He does deserve this credit. He's been playing extremely well over the last 9 games. Do I think that this means the Pistons should decide not to trade him in the offseason? Absolutely not. They should absolutely be trading him anyways for a couple of reasons. One, I have no interest in paying Jerami Grant 4 years, $112 million, which is the rumored extension that he wants in the offseason. He's not worth that, in my opinion, for a team like the Pistons. I would not pay him that. Just isn't happening. He needs to go somewhere else where he can get paid that. Again, I'm not a fan of that at all. Not even a little bit. Not a little bit of paying him that much money. That's first. Second, while he has taken a little bit of a step back here, his overall, how should I say this? Well, I've said to you guys about Isaiah Livers when we talked about in the last podcast how the Pistons should look at Isaiah Livers and see they need more guys like that come from that type of DNA and have that kind of high basketball IQ and willingness to play that way. They need to just surround their roster with that. Jerami's not that. Now, he's taking a step back and he's taking a lesser role, yes, and props to him. But you can see this is not really like it's kind of like he's wrestling with himself. He's trying to do what's best for the team because he knows that's what they want, but it's like a wrestling with himself, and he still finds himself not making that extra pass or playing the right way, or every now and then that happens. I don't want those type of players on the Pistons. I think the Pistons need, moving forward, I think one of their biggest things, they need to have guys like Isaiah Livers, not just guys who can't handle the ball at all. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. Just high IQ players who are capable of making the simple pass, want to make the simple pass, understand the offense, defense, high IQ players, stuff like that. I don't think the Pistons are going to attract superstars. I don't think they're going to have multiple superstars on their team. So the way they're going to have to beat teams is by simply just playing smarter basketball, I feel like, in the future. With Cade as the lead guy, maybe he's a superstar. I think he will be. But they're not just going to out-superstar other guys. So I think the way the Pistons will end up being a great team is by playing smarter basketball and playing team basketball and making the right decisions all the time. And I think that's the kind of players they need to surround themselves with. And I have serious questions about whether Jerami can do that long term. But really, the biggest reason is just that extension. I have no interest at all in paying Jerami that much. Also, I think he can net you back some value where you should probably pounce on that value while you can. I believe it was at the trade deadline, it was the highest. Hopefully in the offseason, it's still pretty high. So I don't think that his recent stretch should discourage the Pistons from trading him. But I do want to give credit to him for playing extremely well over the last 9 games. He's playing better on both sides of the floor. He's taking the backseat to Cade. He's letting him do his thing. And the ISOs have went down a little bit. The hero ball has went down a little bit. And you can see that he's actively trying to play better team basketball. And I'll give him credit for that. You can see it, that he's trying to do so. So I do want to give him credit for that. I want to take time out of this podcast to give Jerami Grant his flowers over the last 9 games because he does deserve it. When we come back, we'll talk about if Cade Cunningham is indeed the guy for the Detroit Pistons, what kind of archetype should be the second banana for Cade? Who should be his Robin to Cade's Batman? We'll talk about that in the upcoming segment. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product that I literally use almost every single day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I didn't have time to really, I don't eat as healthy as other people. I want to have better gut health. I want to get more energy. And this was a quick way to do it. Now, I've been on it for a few weeks now, and I absolutely love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It has kind of like a mild tropical taste to it that I actually look forward to having each morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All those type of things. It's lifestyle friendly, and whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality, recovery, supports mental clarity, and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. It costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements for yourself and doing it all yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. And Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes and trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Graveris. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every single day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's the best way to support the podcast. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Continue to show Locked On the way the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, best way to support the podcast, hit the subscribe button over to the Locked On Pistons YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. And oh my God, it is hot in here, dude. It is hot in my house. I am burning up in here. I should tell my fiance to turn down the AC while I'm recording this. I am really heating up. Gotta take a drink of water real quick. Oh God, you don't think you'd be hearing that in Michigan? Whew. Okay. Sorry about that. So Cade Cunningham. A lot of people believe that he is the guy for the Pistons. He is their franchise player. I am one of those people. I believe Cade is their franchise guy. I think they finally have gotten their franchise guy. In the worst case scenario, I think he's their number 2 guy. But I really do believe that Cade is the guy, and they're going to build around him, and he's going to be a star for the Pistons, a superstar for the Detroit Pistons. If he is that guy, if he turns out to be the franchise dude, the number 1 icon here, what is the best archetype for like his second banana? What's the best, what type of player should the Pistons be looking for to be his Robin? Cade's Batman? What kind of Robin do the Pistons need? I think I'm going to go away from a center. I don't think the Pistons want their second best player to be a big guy, because I feel like big guys, while they are important, and you've seen now over, I believe, like the last 2 years at like the trade deadline and the buyout market, all of a sudden these teams who don't have big men, think big men don't matter, they're all searching and begging for a big man to hit the open market or to hit the trade discussion so they can trade for one. So big men, I know a lot of people think, oh, analytics say big men suck, or you just need 5 spaced out the floor and shoot threes, all that stuff, all these random statements that you hear from people that don't really know what analytics are. But that's not the case. You still need a good big man. You need a quality big man. However, I feel like you can get that type of quality big man, a quality enough big guy for a championship team for cheap. You don't have to. That's the one position on the floor I feel like that you do not need to overpay for, and you should not put as much resources in. For example, if the Pistons wanted to go get Mitchell Robinson this offseason, I think he would be cheap. A guy like Nerlens Noel, I think, could be a starting center for a championship-level team. A good roller, good lob threat, good interior defender, will defend the rim, doesn't need touch. He's just going to set screens, roll to the rim, play defense. Those kind of guys, I think, are incredible pieces for a championship team. And you don't need to overpay for those kind of things. You don't need to price yourself out for a center. So I try to stay away from that. Obviously, if the Pistons in the draft are able to get like one of those generational big guys, you get that guy. If you can get a generational big guy, you get him. I'm not saying you don't do it, but it wouldn't be my preference. I don't think that should be the preference here. I think what the Pistons need, or what the Pistons should want to be Cade Cunningham's second banana, is a wing player who I think the best comparison I can come up with is Zach LaVine. That's the type of dude I think the Pistons should want as the second banana with Cade. I don't think it should be a shooting guard either. I think it should be a bigger guy like 6'8", 6'9", that can play the forward spots, maybe play the 4 in small ball lineups, but mostly a 3. Because in that 2-guard spot, I really think that the archetype of Killian Hayes is what they should want. Now, we've talked about many times in the podcast, whether it is Killian or not, depends on if Killian becomes good. But the archetype that he is the archetype that they should have the 2. A guy who's able to play defense, can hit open threes, which is what obviously Killian needs to get good at that if he wants to fill that role. Who knows if he actually will be that guy. But a guy who can play defense, hit open threes, control their offense, make for guys, and take some of that stress off of Cade, and play really good defense and transitional passing. Like Lonzo Ball, basically, that type of second guy at the number 2. Lonzo won't be your main point guard. He won't be your main ball handler, but he's a perfect secondary ball handler, great defender, great transitional passer, great guy to have take the stress off of running the offense, is able to balance that act right there. That's who they should want at the 2 position for me. But I think the second best player on the team should be coming from that 3 spot. And it should be a guy who is able to score the ball with the ball in his hands, whether it's at the rim, from mid-range, or from beyond the arc, able to come off screens and hit shots. I don't need him to be a big playmaker. I don't think he has to be like a point forward. I think he really just needs to be a two-way scorer. A guy who can play defense, can switch along 3 to 4 on defense. And again, just able to hit ISO scoring, able to score in the pick and roll, able to score off of screens, able to score at the basket, draw free throws. There's a pure scorer that can play defense on the other end. And he doesn't, and his weakness can be playmaking. I don't think the Pistons need him to need that player to be a great playmaker. Because if they go by the build I'm talking about here, they'll have Cade, who's a tremendous playmaker. They'll have a secondary ball handler who's also a really good playmaker at the 2. And they really just need a guy who's able to go get buckets and play a tremendous defensive score in transition. Now, Zach LaVine's not great at defense, so obviously he doesn't fit that archetype I'm talking about perfectly. And the archetype that I'm describing right now probably is like an all-NBA player. I get it. So I get it. He doesn't have to be otherworldly defensively, but that's the archetype I'm looking at. A guy who can score, play defense, able to score the ball in his hands and without the ball in his hands. And the team will not absolutely fall apart when Cade leaves the floor because they have a dynamic scorer on the floor with him. I'm not talking about I know how people say, oh, Frank Jackson can score. Like, I'm not talking about one of those guys type of scorers. I'm talking about like a legitimate scorer who is strong, can get to the rim, draw free throws efficiently from beyond the arc, from mid-range, everywhere, just that kind of thing. It can also check on the other end. So that's why I think the Pistons' second banana they should be looking for. Obviously, that doesn't mean that I'm saying the Pistons should just ignore any other options. Like, if it comes in a big man, then it comes in a big man. If it comes in the 2, it comes in the 2. Like, it doesn't matter. But my preference, that was what I would try to build this team around. Cade, archetype like Killian Hayes or Lonzo Ball, since Lonzo Ball's better. I guess I should probably say Lonzo. Archetype like Lonzo at the 2. A center who's just really good protecting the rim and is a good lob threat, getting to the pick and roll guy. A 4, which is probably Sadiq. I think Sadiq can play the 4 spot. I think he's a really nice rebounder for his size, and I think if he can become more consistent with the shooting, which is something we need to watch for the rest of the season because he hasn't been consistently throughout the entire season. He's been inconsistent a little bit, but I think Sadiq would probably slot in at that 4, hopefully, and just be a stretch 4 kind of guy, can battle down low, and can score somewhat for himself as well. If you want to stagger him with the bench lamps or the bench lamps that you potentially have in the future, he's able to provide that type of scoring. And then at that 3 spot, just a guy who's able to go out and just get pure buckets, play defense, get to the rim, strong, big guy. That's the talent archetype that I think would be best for the Pistons. But let me know what you guys think about that. I know there's all kinds of opinions about this. Everyone's talking about this all year, really, about what the Pistons' second guy should be. Who should be their next acquisition? Who should be the second best player in the team? What should they look like, etc. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think it should be, or in the Twitter, or on my Twitter at Kookie Hill. I'm really interested in hearing it. It's a fun conversation. I can't wait to see how they go about it in the offseason. If they do try to get that guy immediately this offseason, maybe it's DeAndre Ayton, maybe Miles Bridges. If they really are that high on Miles Bridges, is in the draft, do they go with a big guy? Do they fall in the draft and end up getting this Jalen, or I think his name is Jaden Ivey or something? By the way, before we move on, I did tell you guys last week that we had a draft guy coming on soon. Last week it got postponed. We're still trying to get like the right timing going on, but I'm hoping that if it doesn't happen tomorrow, then it happens next week, early next week. So stay tuned for that. It is coming. I'm trying. It's hard to book the right time, and it matches up with people, but it should be either tomorrow or early next week. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I know you guys are really looking for some draft content. But anyways, when we come back, we'll preview a little bit of tomorrow's game against the Orlando Magic and talk about the lottery odds and how tomorrow's game will affect the Pistons lottery odds, I should say. But first, I had to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. It's that time of year again, as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting in your favorite Vegas casino games. MLB is back. You can bet on MLB now, or baseball now, when their season eventually gets started up. When football gets started back up, you can go right over there. Hockey, And don't even get me started with blackjack. Those are casino games. Blackjack is the quickest way to get me hooked, man. I had to stop, man. I had to hold myself back with that blackjack. But you have all those kind of options at betonline.net. So head to the website today and use your mobile device and learn more about the trends and action today. Again, head to the website today, betonline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Best way to support the podcast. We're on a road to 2,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it. Head to the Locked On Pistons YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Again, I'd really appreciate it. But the Pistons are going against the Orlando Magic today, a team that I actually have a few guys on there that I'm actually really fans of and interested in. First of all, I really love Markelle Fultz. I really like him. I wanted the Pistons to trade for him 3 years. What was it? 3 years ago when he was being shopped, and the Pistons actually were interested in him. It was him and DSJ. I think they said the Pistons were eventually interested in. I really wanted them to go after Markelle Fultz, but it didn't happen, and that's fine. The Pistons have Cade Cunningham. I'm not saying it was like some big mistake or something. I'm mad at them for not doing it. But Markelle Fultz, I really like watching him play. Ever since he came back from injury, I think he's looked really nice too. So I really like watching him. Franz Wagner. Another rookie that I feel like kind of is going under the radar. If you want to be honest, I think he's probably like the fourth best rookie this year. I know Jalen Green is getting a lot of hype right now because he's played extremely well since the All-Star break. But Franz Wagner, I think, has been excellent all season. Just real quick, man, this draft class that Cade was in, it's going to be deep as hell. They're all joking aside, all trash talking aside, and who's going to win Rookie of the Year aside. Like this draft class is going to be hella deep. This was a really damn good draft class, dude. Like I remember before the draft, people thought that once you dropped out of the top 3 or something, it was like, oh well, now there's a little bit of a drop off. No, there wasn't. There was not a drop off. There is players throughout the entire lottery, throughout the first round. This was a really good draft. We're now like you can go all the way. When did Kuminga get picked? Like what was it, 5, 6? Kuminga is pretty damn good. Franz Wagner, really damn good. You got what's my man's name? I'm forgetting his name. I'm drawing a blank. But there's another guy that went way later in the first round that's starting to make some news. I don't know how I'm forgetting his name. But either way, this draft class was really damn good. So even if Cade doesn't win Rookie of the Year, while we all should be pissed as Pistons fans, and I think he deserves it, there's a lot of guys that are vying for this. And there's a lot of deserving guys that probably would win it any other year, like Franz Wagner, like Evan Mobley, like Jalen Green. So they're playing really, really well. But yeah, Franz Wagner, another guy I'm really looking forward to watching tomorrow. The Pistons you probably would like the Pistons to lose this game. I'm not going to lie. They are a half game behind Orlando in the lottery right now. Orlando's 18-52. The Pistons are 18-51. And number 1 is Houston, who is only a game ahead of Detroit and half a game ahead of Orlando. It's crazy how you talk about the lottery when you have to say like ahead. We're talking about teams losing more. But you're talking about being ahead a little bit. Like, lottery days, man. Lottery. I can't wait for the Pistons to not be in the lottery. We don't have to talk like this anymore. But, yeah, I think the Pistons, you should probably be rooting a little bit for the Pistons. Just have a competitive loss because they would move into the second place for the lottery, and you want the Pistons to have the highest odds possible and not have to fall out the top 5 eventually. And the season is winding down. So I'm assuming a lot of people would probably want a competitive loss here. While we're talking about the lottery real quick, let's go ahead and sim this draft simulator and see where the Pistons get. I swear to God, bro, every time I do this, nothing good happens. When's the last time I told you guys like a good result from this? Like even going back to last year, I don't think we had one good result. And this one, the Pistons fall to 6th. Not great, Bob. Not great. And just to let you guys know again, if the Pistons, wherever the Pistons finish in the lottery, they can fall 5 spots. That's the farthest they can fall. So that's why a lot of people you'll see wanting the Pistons to lose more. They want the Pistons to finish second. They want them to finish first. Because if they go first, the farthest they can fall is to 5. Second, farthest they can go is 6. 3 to 7, and so on and so forth. So if they finish like second, like they did last year, I believe, the farthest they'll go is 6. And then, I mean, if it's 6, then you're not going to be happy, but at least, it's not as bad. First, obviously, would be the best outcome. You're guaranteed top 5 no matter what. So while we're all accepting the wins, and if the wins continue to come because of the young guys push the action and they continue to develop and look good and they win, no one's willing to complain, especially me. I'm not going to complain if that's the case, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to be mad if they, lose some games on purpose, possibly. I won't be mad about that either. Hopefully this is the last year we have to do that kind of thing. But yeah, I think this Orlando game is going to be really fun. I also like Mo Bamba. I think this is just going to be a real fun game to watch between two teams who are not very good, but have a lot of interesting pieces. The Pistons have Cade, Sadiq, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart. I don't know why I'm just drawing blanks right now. A bunch of young guys. But yeah, the Pistons have a really good young core. The Orlando Magic, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony, Marco Fultz. So I think this is going to be a really fun game. Hopefully it's a fast-paced game, up and down the floor kind of game. I think that would be really fun to watch. And if the Pistons have a competitive loss, I'm not going to be too mad about it. I won't be too mad about it. I'm hoping what I really want to see, I want to see Killian continue to build on these good performances, man, because he's been too inconsistent. He'll have a good game and then he'll have two bad games, then have two good games, then have two bad games. Like, I just want him to be consistent. He had a nice game last game. He's starting to show over the last few weeks, I feel like, a change of mindset and aggression. So hopefully we continue to see that, especially against Cole Anthony. He seems to get up for Cole Anthony. Maybe not offensively last game, but defensively he gets up for Cole Anthony. He wants to put the clamps on. It's Cole Anthony, LaMelo, and Tyrese Halliburton. He loves getting up for those guys because those guys were said to be better than him. And even if he isn't as good as them right now, and he has a long way to go offensively, every time he goes out there defensively, he goes out there and is just physical as hell with those guys. He really wants to just show those guys up on that end. So I'm interested to see that matchup. I think you guys should watch for that. Killian does get up for those guys. But that's all I've got for you guys in today's episode, man. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button at Locked On Pistons. Make sure you're making Locked On NBA your second listen of every single day. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Until tomorrow, guys, I'll see you guys then. Enjoy the game tonight against the Orlando Magic. Hopefully the Pistons either get a win led by the young guys or just a competitive loss that moves them a little bit higher in the lottery odds. We'll see how that goes tonight. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everybody, and stay safe.